Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Great Resignation. I'm Dawn Parks. I am your host from Shimula. Liz is out with COVID. If she joins us, she's just going to be sitting in silence. She said the coughing and she has no voice left whatsoever. And I think today is a perfect day to kind of look at this notion of the law of forgiveness. We've been looking at the 11 laws that Bob Proctor talks about as being the forgotten laws, and doing it in the context of the Great Resignation. Now, the Great Resignation, I've now seen different people talk about it being the Great Re-Evaluation, the Great Reconsideration, whatever it might be. A lot of people right now in October and then again in November, I think they said more than 4 million people left their jobs. And they may have gone to another job. They may have decided to stay home because it was easier. They were able to figure out financially how to do that. It could be that they created a new business. But regardless, millions of people keep leaving their jobs. And it makes me wonder how happy they are in their new job. Because quite often when people who have been working in corporate America for a very long time suddenly shift jobs, they don't often do it with a plan in place to understand why they're leaving the job that they're in, what they love the job that they've been doing, what parts of it they love, what do they love about the people, what do they love about what's the kind of difference that they're making. And they move into this new role, and often they're not satisfied. You know, the grass is greener on the other side. It isn't always true, because a lot of times we don't take the opportunity to plan up front. And for those of you who are employers that might be looking at this, it's really important to start to think outside the box. A lot of times we have different constructs for which we evaluate whether or not our people are satisfied and what it takes to keep them. And a lot of times the things that it takes to keep a really good, solid employee who you've put a lot of money and time into training and they're making a big difference, we don't often think about that. I was just chatting with a friend recently, and we were talking about some different business opportunities. And one of the things he said, you know, he said to me, he said, Dawn, I was devastated when you left Purdue. Now, that was really flattering. Really, it was really flattering. But when I was at Purdue, and I love everyone that I worked with at Purdue, there is not a single person that I didn't like, but I thought there was something more on the other side. What I didn't know was that my leaving left people upset. I mean, there were a couple of people who said to me that they were upset that I was leaving, but I didn't have the experience of, you know, that I was devastating anyone, right? We don't walk around thinking, oh, if I leave, these people are going to be devastated. So as an employer, it's good to really, if a person leaves and it's going to devastate your business, they need to know, because in that conversation, you might be able to fix something, change something, pivot on something to keep your very best employees. So that's really not what we're here to talk about. Well, it is. That's the Great Resignation part. But what I'm here to talk about today is the law of forgiveness, which is one of the forgotten laws that Bob Proctor talks about. You're probably thinking, how can the law of forgiveness have anything to do with the Great Resignation, the Great Reevaluation, the Great whatever it is? So there's a couple of different ways to consider it. So first, let's just talk about this notion of forgiveness. I'm not going to talk about it in any sort of religious viewpoint, right? That's between you and your higher power. It can be easily applied in that arena, and many of you will, and I acknowledge you and think it's great if you do. But you also want to think about it from the more secular point of view, the business point of view, and your business, where you work or where you have employees. You are a business of people. You're a business of people. People do stuff. People come to work, hopefully every day or whenever they're supposed to be there for their shift. We don't know what's happened at home. We don't know what happened on the way to work. We don't know what they're struggling with. We don't know if there's any sort of mental health issues or a physical issue. And we ask them always to kind of just check that at the door. Just when you walk in the door, you're here to work. And what often happens is the the feelings and the emotions and the things that we're dealing with start to fester. And as the employee, you may get really mad that you don't have a place to kind of deal with these issues, mad that you can't take the time to deal with the issues. And you're mad at the people who have all the rules and all the restrictions and are kind of telling you like, this is how it works, right? It's kind of like there's me at work and there's me at home, and you have to have a big wall between them. So one of the first things there is the opportunity is to look at, where are you really mad at someone at work? And try to put your finger on why you are so mad. Because here's the thing, we can't undo the past, right? We can't undo the past. All we can do is move forward. And when you move forward in anger, right, you carry that anger wherever you go until it's resolved. So even if you go to a new job, you're going to be comparing things against whatever that employer did to you or said to you or required of you. And you want to get it resolved so that when you move to the new place, you're not hanging on to that like baggage, right? You don't want to hang on to it like baggage. The Buddha says, there's a quote, and it's that being angry is like drinking poison and hoping that the other person will die. So quite often the person you're mad at doesn't even know that you're mad at them. They don't know that you're angry and you're harboring all of this resentment and upset. And as a manager or as a supervisor or as a peer, if I pissed somebody off, I would hope that they would tell me. You know, you can say things, you may walk around and say, hey, is everything okay? Yes, everything's fine. And you know things aren't fine, but you need the person to be able to share with you. So I would first start looking at, what are all the complaints that you have at work, and start to have conversations with those people so that if they can't resolve it for you, then maybe they can resolve it or at least be aware of it when they hire new people. Because that would be like giving back to the world. It would be so important to be able to make sure you don't want that company to fail, right? You want that company to still survive, and maybe it's just not the place for you, but you need to talk to the people who have done whatever they have done, because quite often they may not be aware of it, or quite often they'll be able to say is like, we have to do it this way. I don't have another way to do it. It's not personal to you. And if it is personal to you, instead of being mad, I would encourage you to get curious. You know, we've talked about that before, is, you know, the laws of resistance, right? Law of non-resistance. I would encourage you to be curious so that you can forgive that behavior, so you can set it aside, so you can move on without it being like this big, heavy set of baggage for yourself. Because it really is very true, at least in my experience and in what I've learned from other people, is that, you know, it is like when you're mad and angry and you won't let go, it festers and builds. And it is like drinking poison and hoping someone else is going to die. It doesn't work that way. You're the one that's going to die. And, you know, in laws of thermodynamics, we're either expanding or we're contracting. We're living or we're dying. When you walk around angry and mad at the people that you work with, then you are dying in a way. And you can actually kill yourself over time with the anger. You can get ulcers, you can have heart attack, you can have all kinds of things happen from anger and stress. And if you have lived this way for a long time, chances are it's really just a habit. And you're probably thinking, okay, I don't know if forgiveness, being angry is a habit, but it might be a habit. It might be a way that you deal with the world. It's easier to be angry than to be curious. Because a lot of times, if you have to be curious, you might have to look stupid. You might have to be vulnerable. You might have to take a chance. You might have to take a risk. And a lot of us can be risk averse. And if you're thinking about going out and doing something new, you can't be risk averse. So I would encourage you to start to look at, do I have this habit all the time? Do I have these kinds of issues in other jobs? Because when you go to your new job, you want your new job, or if you want to create a new company, you want to notice if that's a habit, or if it's truly a policy that can't be changed, if it's the other person who's unwilling to change the way they interact, or is it something about you, right? Is it something about you and the way you interact with the world? So if you're mad or angry about something at work, I encourage you to go find out why you're angry and see if there's anything you can do to resolve it for yourself or for the people that are coming in behind you. All right, so that's one way to be thinking about forgiveness. I think that it's important to realize that you can't undo the past. So it's important, what the better way to think about it is to think about it from the standpoint of how can I create a solution, right? How do I create a solution? So if something's not working, chances are it may not work in the next company, or it may not work in your company that you're creating. So what is a solution? Nobody wants to hear about the problem unless there's a solution. The people that complain all the time, they're the ones that very rarely come up with a solution, right? So we want to make sure that if you have a problem and you're angry about something, start to look at it from how can it get resolved? And if you're not willing to do anything to get it resolved, then whose problem is it really? Is it really your problem? So you want to start to look and see, is it your problem or not? Right? And then you can forgive, even if you don't forgive the person to their face, you can forgive them inside and say, oh my gosh, I have been blaming this person for all of these things for so long. And it really, I don't plan on doing anything about it. I'm just going to let it go. Quite often, I have people around me who I'll be coaching, and they might be really mad at their ex-husbands, right? And it's very important to, if something has happened, you need to be able to vent. You need to be able to get that out. And quite often, people will say, well, if only he had done this, and only he had done that, and only he had done this, and only he had done that. And I'll say, well, if he had done all that, then would you have stayed? And then they look and, no, I wouldn't have stayed. And then why are you still complaining about it? Even if they were nicer, or they spent more money on you, or they were more available for date nights, or if you think about it from an employer, right? Even if my employer gave me a little bit more money, or if my employer gave me some more responsibility, or had less responsibility, or let me work from home more often, if they had done all of that, would you still want to stay? And you say, no, not really. Then they're not the one that has the problem. You have the problem, and it's time for you to let it go, right? We hang on to some of these stuff. I've done this before. Hang on, show you something here. Okay, so we walk around like, okay, these people should be doing this, and these people should be doing that, and I don't like how these things are going, right? And we do this, and when we walk into a new job, or we walk into our new company, and we say, hi, I'm ready to get started, but you have to put up with all of this. But we don't say we have to put up with all of this, we just have all of this. And then as you're working, it becomes quite apparent that all of this stuff is covering up who you are. It's like all of this baggage covering you up. And until you have the ability to let go of the anger, and let go of the irritation, and let go of the pissed offness, people won't see who you really are. So it's time to forgive yourself and forgive them. Forgive them. If you haven't talked to them about it and there isn't a solution, it's time to figure out a way to let it go. And if it's about you, right, it's time to forgive yourself. Just forgive yourself. We can't undo the past. And I've said that 3 times already, but we can't undo the past. All we can do is learn from it and continue to move forward, because you're either expanding and living, or you are dying and contracting. That's it. There's no in between. There's no neutral. You're either going forward or you're dying. And what do you want? And being angry, holding on to anger, just keeps you in the past. It keeps you in your dying mode. It is time to let it go. Now, there's a whole bunch of different tools out there for letting things go, right? I don't have all the answers. If it's religious, you can go talk to your priest or your pastor, or someone at your church. But you can journal, you can write a letter, you can pick up the phone and have a conversation. You can go out on the internet and there is an answer for everything on the internet, whether you believe it or not. But there's an answer out there about, I'm mad at my boss for doing this. How do I talk to them about it? If you're going to start your own company, this is a really important thing to do, because when you leave your company and you go to start your own business, you're going to carry that anger with you. And it will be part of the way the anger will be part of the way you design your company. You don't want to design a company from dying and contraction. You want to design your company from excitement and life and being generous and having all this really cool new stuff, right? So as you are in this place of thinking about leaving your job, and you know what? I was just listening to this thing from Darren Hardy. He's got this right. Now is, of all the times in the world, the best time to go out and do the thing that you want to do, that excites you, that lights you up. Don't hang around the people that upset you. Get it all forgiven and move on. It's the best time in history. The news is always going to talk about the bad stuff, right? But if you look around, there are so many great things happening in the world. You know, people are able to leave their jobs. People are able to start companies. People are able to get great food. They're able to figure out how to work from home. We never imagined that 5 years ago. We never imagined that we wouldn't have to travel all the time to get to a meeting. We never thought about those things. It was like never going to happen. Thank God Zoom had thought about this before we ever did, right? Anyway, what I'm trying to say is you got to let it go. You have to let it go. Find a tool that works for you. Find a buddy that you can share your ideas with on how to get forgiven. You need a place to vent. Maybe, you know, one of my great venting is swimming. I know it sounds crazy, but I can be in the water for an hour and my mind goes completely clear. And I realize when I stop that I have a choice of whether or not I want to pick up the baggage or I want to pick up the pillows, right? Or I want to keep moving on. So here's what I just encourage you right now. Find a tool, find any tool. Meditation doesn't work squat for me, but it works a lot. It works well for a lot of people. So find that tool, go for a walk, listen to an uplifting podcast, listen to Brene Brown, listen to some of the great podcasts about how people are starting businesses. Get yourself excited about something and start to let go of, forgive yourself and forgive others, because you're too young to die from anger. You just are. You just are. It's not too late. So I encourage you to go ahead and do that. Now, if you want to talk to me, I'd be happy to chat with you about how to let go of the anger, how to forgive yourself and forgive others. And I promise it won't be like a religious conversation unless that's what you want. I'm more spiritual in nature. But anyway, feel free to give me a call. Sometimes we have to let that stuff go. And then there's always opportunities. You know, Liz and I do coaching around your emotions. We do coaching around how do you create your business? How do you create that dream? How do you create that dream from nothing, right? How do you create it from nothing without all of the baggage? That's what we're here for. How do you create the new money conversation? Because you're going to need new money, different money, no matter what you do. We're here for you for that. So I'm going to put all of that information about how you can contact us in the chat, but just know that we're here for you. Time to forgive. Time. It is time. It's time. Okay. Anyway, signing off for now. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great one.